On behalf of Bookmates Group, I welcome all of you on this Sunday morning. Luckily, we have Kevin's father-in-law, Sri Vishnu Dasji Darak with us. And we seek your blessings, sir. Here, thank you. Vishnu Dasji is a renowned chartered accountant. And in my community, he is regarded as one of the godfathers for all of us. You have done remarkably well, sir. Thank you so much. Let me congratulate and best wishes to all the lady members here. We celebrated Happy Women's Day yesterday. And the problem with me, since I am the conducting the program, I have a weakness of putting 4 lines in between. And you have to tolerate with it, please. So for my friends and lady members, बाग की हर कली खुशबू दे आपको, बाग की हर कली खुशबू दे आपको, सूरज की हर किरण नई सुबह दे आपको. हम तो सिर्फ दुआ कर सकते हैं, हम तो सिर्फ दुआ कर सकते हैं, देने वाला वो रब लाखों खुशियां दे आपको, लाखों खुशियां दे आपको. I can see almost the house full today. And that speaks volumes about the love, the feelings, and respect we have for today's Utsamurthy, the Kevin Shah. Where is Kevin, please? Please, thank you so much. Thank you. I have to describe Kevin in 3 words. The formal introduction will follow. But in this meeting, when we were organizing last few days, I'm in touch with him. And I'm telling you, friends, never ever take the chance of organizing any event for Kevin. I'm truly telling you, a very hard taskmaster. He will not leave any stone unturned, whatever it may be. You can expect the call midnight 2 a.m. also. And you have to answer there and there itself. That's the kind of powerhouse you are. A great perfectionist. We were thinking to organize in a casual manner. The guy ordered the Katgara himself. That's a great. I mean, he wants the perfection. A great philanthropist. And above all, virtues and qualities have made him the very successful entrepreneur. Please don't take it otherwise. Some of you might have done the program forum conducted by Landmark Institute. And there one software is given to you that if you can the art of making unreasonable request, mind it, unreasonable request in a diplomatic manner, in a very pleasant manner, you can reach on the top. And if you want to learn that art, catch hold of Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. 4 lines for him again. लुभाले आपको वो अंदाज कहां से लाए, लुभाले वो अंदाज हम कहां से लाएं, आपके नगमों के लिए साज कहां से लाएं, चांद की तारीफ तो कर सकते हैं, आपकी तारीफ के लिए अंदाज कहां से लाएं, आपकी तारीफ के लिए. I am truly short of words to express the guy. You will know much more about during the course of the program. Rakesh, Vinita, Anil Deng has taken great efforts to organize this event. If everything goes well as expected, you can always thank me. If anything goes wrong, here's the guy. Thank you, Gopal. We have a very learned person with us, a investment banker cum advisor, professor at SP Jain Institute, knows all ins and outs about this guy. He is sober as he looks like, but there are many other things also with him. And may I request Binal Gandhi to please come forward and introduce.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's great to see such a full house, of course, for Kevin. Well, I guess all of you know Kevin here, and you know how much he loves to discuss and debate. And although I know him from school days, but I got a taste of it when we took a Gita class together. So every lesson that we would learn from the teacher, he would have his own perspective. And as you all know, Kevin, he was not afraid to share his perspective at all. So we would have all kinds of discussions, sometimes very controversial, much to the annoyance of Rupali, his wife. Sometimes it got quite heated. And but what I really admire about Kevin is that he never made it personal. It was always about, the point that we were talking about, never personal. And I really admire that quality in him. I wanted to share one more personal anecdote before I talk about his professional achievements. So we've taken a few trips around India together, and every monument or every temple that we visit, he always wants to buy all the trinkets that the vendors will sell around. And even though we know he's not going to use any of them, but his point is he always wants to help the local people and the local economy. And, that is just one example of his generosity. And he is a generous soul. And, and he brings that even to his professional life. So, I think many of you know that a few years ago he sold his business to a Swedish MNC very successfully. But what some of you may not know is that he lost his dad very early on. And when he had to take over the business at a very early age, he really didn't have anyone to teach him, no real mentors. But just like Kevin, he learned. He learned from his peers, he learned from his competitors, he learned from his friends, and he was very successful in growing his business. And but the thing about him, is he shared that growth with his employees. So, he runs, all his employees are more like an extended family. And, some of the things that he's talked about earlier is how he, would travel with visiting his different customers. And this was a very complicated business. Heat transfer, and his customers were, I think, in the chemical field and petrochemical and very complex business. But as he traveled around India, he learned a lot, and he shared all his learnings with his employees. And, also I think organized, which I loved that idea, Bollywood nights, where they would watch Bollywood movies together. And again, there, he would take some learnings out. So his employees also, grew with the company from not only from a professional basis, but also a personal level. And, the loyalty, I think, that he's been able to instill is just very, very, very admirable. I also want to read out some of his speaking engagements, which have been quite a few. So he chaired the SME committee at the Process Plant and Machinery Association of India, and was a recipient of the Chairman's Award for his outstanding contribution to the association. He's twice been a speaker at CII's, the National Seminar of Capital Goods, where he presented a view on how foreign governments are assisting the local industry. Under the program of Ministry of Petrol, he has also been a speaker at the National Seminar on Opportunities in the Oil and Gas Sector. He recently also gave a talk at the Della Leaders Club. And of course, as you all know, he's published his very successful book, Unshackle the Elephant in the Mind, which we're going to talk about today. He now shares his experiential knowledge by engaging with upward bound entrepreneurs as a peer thought strategist. His areas of interest are people alignment, cultural evolution, and proactive strategy. Kevin is also engaged in giving back, and one of the organizations that he's involved with is Bamboo First, a social work initiative that focuses on education, empowerment, and environment through the involvement of tribal women who make handcrafted artifacts using bamboo as a raw material. So thank you, Kevin, for a lovely book and sharing so much with us. And I'm going to hand over the mic back to Gopal.
Thank you, Binan. There would not have been a better person than you to introduce Kevin. You have been his classmate also. And some of the things we want to know more about him, we will talk in person. If some of you are laughing because I'm wearing the suit and this guy is wearing the suit and you are finding awkward, then our job is done. Rajesh Sharma is likely to retire from Aapki Adalat, and my friend is trying to take that position, and that's why we are in the suit here. Yeah. Let me also welcome the family members of Kevin, including Rupali, the son and the daughter-in-law. Where are they, please? Can you get recognized, both of you? Vitika, welcome. Thank you, man. In our earlier days when you, yeah, yeah. Please, sorry. Get recognized now. Why you only one is? Sorry about it. Sorry. You were looking more like a Bollywood guy, so I thought you. When we used to be in post-graduation and later on, we used to have the external examiners to know about everything. And today we have an external examiner, Mr. Suresh, to briefly talk about the book and give your comments on this. 3 to 4 minutes for you. But you have specifically told me that Gopal invite me with 4 lines, so I have to put a 4 lines. मुश्किलों से कभी आपकी मुलाकात ना हो, मुश्किलों से कभी आपकी मुलाकात ना हो, उदास बैठो ऐसी कोई बात ना हो. दुआ है कि महफिलों से सजे जिंदगी आपकी, दुआ है कि महफिलों से सजे जिंदगी आपकी, बस हमें पुकार लेना अगर कोई साथ ना हो. Thank you so much. Please.
4 minutes? Okay. 4 minutes, yeah. Thank you very much for giving me the platform, Gopalji. Wonderful to meet Kevin and his family. For qualifying me to be in the stage, I have read the book completely and long back. So if I make errors of recall, that's because I have read it some 4 weeks or 5 weeks back. Kevin has done a fantastic job, and I'm surprised. Going by what he does on WhatsApp group, which is word salad, he goes on and on, links up from politics to Bhagavad Gita to whatever you can pick and link, and sometimes it is quite long winding. So many of us don't read his WhatsApp message. But the book is a marvel. If anyone has not read it, you have missed something. It's a melodramatic, it has got huge narration, struggles, euphoric rise, and an amazing stakeholder management. The young Turk, like Mr. Azim Premji, got into his saddle because his dad died while he was studying Stanford. He couldn't finish Stanford. He came in, rest is history. Kevin is a mini Azim Premji. He was in the university, his dad dies, he takes a flight, goes to Pakistan on the way, 30 hours, lands in, his own friends don't cajole him when he arrives, so he knows something is wrong. And I cried. Frankly, a lot of us have gone through struggles. It relates to your heart quite solidly. He's done a fantastic job. If Rupali has helped him, then it at least solves my dilemma that who is behind all this. And what a story he narrates on how he gets pre-qualified time in and time out, how his rings on the heat exchanger don't fit into a wooden, more fits into a wooden box than a metal box, how he explains a pizza fitting and a larger diameter heat exchanger he can make to an Italian customer, an Italian individual, how the the true story of how his principle gets taken over by a competitor who already has a presence in Baroda, and he was flacking them while he was selling in India, and how Indian public sectors have such a jaundiced view that they all want to have a foreign principle to back them to get a contract in India, and how he quashes them and gets more and more. And finally, he says that he reaches a steady state, and then the typical company problem starts, which is union, executives leaving, chemical engineers being sought because there is a Y2K boom. All the struggles, I don't think anybody can dispute the kind of reality description that he has given. I think it's more a workbook than an autobiography. It's almost a help for a SME entrepreneur in India. If Kevin can go to a seminar and ask them the same questions he's asked at the end of each part, I think he's doing a human justice to this country. It's a fantastic book. Right? Now, I have one more minute. My two other comments, which is to bring him down to reality, because my image of him went up in the esoteric and to the stratospheric levels, and I had to bring him down. I thought, when will he refer back to Narendra Modi? I had read almost 430 pages, and there was no mention of Mr. Modi. And there comes a third. He brings in gradually. He starts about Kargil war, and then how Kargil war, and then, he doesn't compliment any other government other than Atal Bihari Vajpayee's government, and he slowly slides into the favorite comfort zone of his, which is the political zone. And it's an amazing, uncontrollable feeling. Then I knew that while Rupali might have played a role, he also has a hand. Because he's pushing his agenda quite solidly. And truly, he's a humble guy, because any other fellow who would have written this book would have had a chapter on the sale to the Scandinavian company. He has done so much of narration about everything under the sun and beyond, but his own milestone moment, which is to sell his company and make himself good of all the riches, he has stuffed it in one paragraph in the last chapter. In the 8th chapter, and he's given more accolade to that one trainee girl who takes over from him, who's done a remarkable job by staying in the company. I mean, this is absolutely mind-boggling stuff he's done. It's emotional, it's sentimental, it gives a pulsating feeling to read the book. I didn't miss a beat. I read the book completely, although I'm not able to recall exact sequence since I read it some time back. So without taking all the time from the hero of the day, I want to thank him. I want to compliment him for the good work he's done. And I'm sure the country will be proud if you start circulating this book and start addressing the entrepreneurs and make it look like a workbook than an autobiography of someone like you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Suresh, for giving your opinion, comments, and summarizing the book in such a short period. Person of the stature of Suresh giving the summary and impression in this gathering has added value to our group today. Thank you so much. We have another beautiful girl here sitting. She has recently joined the family of Kevins, Shah, and all those things. And I would request Vinita to be here, please, the daughter-in-law. Vitika. I normally get confused in the names of the beautiful girls, my problem. So would you like to say something about your father-in-law and whatever it is? Yeah? Okay? Go ahead. Thank you.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Great to be here. I was not prepared for this, but I'd say some things. I've just started reading the book because now I have to. But no, to my surprise, it's not like any other entrepreneurship book that I've read before because we had to for our classes. But it's so much more, and it also gave me an opportunity to look at my father-in-law, who I've only looked at in the lens like of a father-in-law, but to look at him as a boy who was young, who's gone through his struggles, who lost his father, the emotional moments, and now who's just, so I'm at a part where he's just taking over the business. And yeah, I see him in a very different light, and it's a very different experience for me as well. So yeah, it's been great reading his book, and I'm continuing to continue. I'll continue to do so, and I'm also here to read a few words by Mr. Farhad Irani, who's not here today. To do better lies at the heart of humanity's progress. From animal skins to Gucci loafers, from rock hewn art to boastful selfies, from soap with camel biplanes to Eurofighters. As a species, we strive for improvement always, and nothing exemplifies this more than Kevin. His striving to ace progress comes clearly in his book. When Unshackle the Elephant in the Mind was released, I may have been amongst the first to have bought and read it, and an extraordinary read it was. A book on business can get tiresome, dull, and tedious, but not Kevin's. His book is a masterpiece of fluent English, capturing his tumultuous years operating and owning a very highly technical business. He interweaves anecdotes and on topic quotes with milestones in his company's rise, fall, and rise to its peak. This book was his labor of love, just as his company, which was his to nurture with such love, focus, and determination. His memory with names, years, events, conversations is just astonishing. I too have owned businesses, but I haven't expended a fraction of the effort that Kevin has. Unshackle the Elephant is brilliant read in this genre. It should be made compulsory reading for business owners, a part of syllabus so to speak. It truly makes for a compelling and enlightening read. It's also very apparent that Rupali played a very crucial role as his wife, his advisor, his confidant, his partner in business. Take a bow, Rupali. Lastly, there is a saying in Latin which, if memory serves me, goes like this: Vivitur ingenio mortis errant. Loosely translated, it means genius lives on, all else is mortal. And Kevin, my friend, you're a genius. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vitika. There's a lot to learn from your father-in-law. And lot many things, perhaps, even by observing the way he speaks, the way he debates, is a great learning for all of us. So now our main program begins. May I request our judge, Vinitha, to take the chair, please. You must be wondering why Vinitha has been chosen as the judge. Please. When BJP announced the name of Rekha Gupta as the CM of Delhi, immediately Vinitha's name came to our mind. Two reasons: that she would be better able to control Rakesh and also our BJP follower. She has been a fighter all the time. I'll give one incident about Vinitha. She wanted to do the engineering course. That time, not many girls were going for the engineering. She got the admission, but the principal refused. There was no ladies' hostel. So he said that I can't give you the admission in the college. She was disturbed. She called the father and then went on the hunger strike. Both of them. Media came, politicians came. Finally, the principal has to agree to give her the admission along with the two of the girls, and they were given the staff quarters. That's the kind of person she is. Runs marathons and does a lot of things. My another friend, Rakesh, I pity on him, able to handle such a fighter so long. He is also a marathon runner, voracious reader. And also one thing goes very well with this gentleman. As the Raymond retail head, he started the idea of giving the personal measurement and making the blazers. Don't try, it's very costly affair. I have tried it, but that is what it is. And he was awarded as the best retail aid or retail manager by Economic Times that time. Thank you so much. Would you like to announce about the format, please, madam? Yeah.
Thank you, Gopalji. I feel truly humbled by this introduction. ये अदालत आपको आपके जन्मदिन पर ढेरों शुभकामनाएं देती हैं. So before we start, I would like to draw the framework for conducting today's proceedings. They will go as follows. Our learned advocates, Mr. Gopal and Mr. Rakesh, will pose their questions to the defendant, Mr. Kevin M. Shah, author of the book Unshackle the Elephant in the Mind. This will be followed by an open session where the august audience can freely ask their questions. Please bear in mind, all the questions have to pertain only to his book, and one should not digress from it. Any external questions will not be allowed or entertained. And finally, we have to keep both the questions as well as the answers short and crisp. Brevity has to be the soul of today's proceedings. तभी आपको फैसला मिलेगा आज के आज. नहीं तो इस कोर्ट से आप एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं केवल तारीख पे तारीख. So ladies and gentlemen, we are now ready to begin Mr. Kevin's trial. Mr. Gopal and Mr. Rakesh, you may begin the proceedings. कार्यवाही शुरू की जाए.
Judge Sahiba, may I say something before the proceedings begin? Am I being audible? So, I wanted to just share a couple of things because these two guys are real tough. So I need to explain, make myself a little clear. थोड़ी सफाई शुरू से ही दे देता हूँ. आज गोपाल सर की बर्थडे है, तो प्लीज गिव हिम अ वेरी बिग हैंड. देखिए, जब आई एम पार्ट ऑफ दिस बुक क्लब एंड व्हेन वी डिसाइडेड, he said that we'll have a day where we will talk about your book. I was rather pleased because we live in a country where we have so many people who are illiterate, and then there are those few who are literate. The distinction between literate and illiterate only comes out when they read, but a lot of people do not read. And if they do read, then it's only to do with their work. And if they want to go beyond, more often than not, they read fiction. And when he said that, you have written an autobiography, which is very rare because most of the time we only see biographies, I thought that he wants to really, honor me by saying, we'll have a book session for you. And he, on his own, said, okay, we will now decide the date. And he chose the date on his birthday. Now, one of the ways where I always wish people, some of you know that the best way to feel special on your special day is to be special to others. Okay? और मुझे यहाँ कटदरा में बिठा दिया. देखिए. But to be fair to him, he knows that even on the group, I only answer to those people who question me. I have always liked being in the eye of the tornado, if I may. So he's actually done me a favor. So thank you very much. I wanted to thank you on your birthday and wishing him a very, very happy birthday. और जज साहिबा और एक लाइन में बताऊंगा कि when this book was in a very raw format, which is like I printed on A4, even the spellings were not changed, the Z's were there. I had been discussing some things with Rakesh sir, and we found out that we have a understanding on how to manage the things. We have a lot of commonalities. So I had given him the raw format to give me a feedback, and I have actually acknowledged him in my book because he gave some very valuable inputs. तो जज साहिबा जब आप जजमेंट दे तब ध्यान रखें कि थोड़े बहुत थॉट प्रिंट्स बुक में राकेश जी के भी है.
ठीक है, वो तो हमेशा ही रहते हैं.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, madam, may I begin with? Yes, please. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
One piece of information, few books are available. Those who wants to buy, it's at almost 10% discount. Today price is only 500 rupees. And you can get the comments and signature from the Utsav Murthy on that very book. Thank you. So how are you feeling in the Katgara, my man, today? Comfortable?
Extremely comfortable.
Okay.
Had it been any place where it was a classical praising me and doing all good things, no. मुझे मालूम है कि आपने शुरू में तो praise किया, लेकिन आप बकरे को काटने के पहले खिलाते हो. मैं जानता हूँ आपको.
Kevin, you are given the title Unshackle the Elephant in the Mind. What exactly was there in your mind when you thought of this title?
See, this is coming out from the very popular idiom that, we don't tend to address the elephant in the room. And that means that there may be something which is very obvious. And we speak of everything else because we suffer from maybe abundance or politeness and other things. But we really do not address the key issue which is there. And the reason for this title is that the biggest room is this one, our mind. And in that, there is something which I have mentioned in the book, that we have certain value which has been kind of chained down, and we are being actually governed by it unknowingly. And it would be nice if we discover what it is that drives us, and what are the patterns coming out, and we remain informed by it. And the idea is to unshackle that and use it to our advantage. So unshackle the elephant in the mind is to unshackle some core value, basically. And that is what we need to get going. But this is the biggest room which we are not addressing. We have no idea what's driving us. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I had a question. So wonderful name, Kevin, of the book. Very deep meaning as well. It's just a question that what is one belief which you, in your mind, try to unshackle, which was the most difficult belief for you to unshackle in your mind? Share one belief.
Right. Thank you. So I have spoken about the generalized faulty beliefs, talking of beliefs. And one of the beliefs we have is that, let me tell you one thing what belief is. Belief is a feeling of certainty. Sometimes we say, I believe in this, but we don't do it. For example, how many of us believe that our country should be clean? We all do. The fact of the matter is that 140 crore people believe in that, but the country was not clean. So good beliefs is seldom good behavior, because the belief was not actually there. It was just a wishful thinking. And I was running my business in the same way, where I was saying that I believe in certain things, but actually I was failing myself. And we all tend to do that sometimes until we make a very strong determination that we should get going and do what we truly believe, and that is to see the end. If you see the light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah.
Sure. So some of the questions people had when you released your book, then why should anyone read your book? Because it is your personal autobiography after all. So can you tell us?
Sure. Well, why should anyone read anyone's book? I mean, at the end of the day, someone's autobiography, what relevance does it have for us? Is the question I believe you are asking. Now, there's a very nice saying, right? That until the lions learn to write, the stories will always be of the glory of the hunter. And here what I'm trying to say is that when somebody achieves the greatness, so-called greatness, and people, they don't write autobiographies. Autobiography writing is very rare. People write biographies about them. And I believe that greatness is overrated. For example, I start my book between an conversation between Alexander and Porus. Let me tell you something which is going to shock you, that in Indian history, our historians had no idea who Porus was. So this book is actually of the SMEs. Porus was a very small king and he is not referred to in the Indian history books. We learnt about him because Alexander found him to be very different from all the other kings, and we know this from the European history. Now imagine such someone like Porus is not mentioned. There are very many small people over here. Small as in speaking in terms of the size of the business or whatever have you. But they have so much to offer. So when Alexander met Porus, and after having the conversation, he was out to conquer the world. He was so impressed with him that he said, even if I will succeed in conquering the world, I will give back your little kingdom. Which means there would have remained a dent in Alexander's universe. And such a powerful story, which we were not aware. So here I am encouraging, if you see in the start of the book, I am asking everyone to write their book. That is what, in how to benefit from the book. The questions which are there is to prod you to write your own book. This is what it is, sir. Thank you.
थैंक यू केविन सर आप तो कोई कैदी के जैसी तो बात रिप्लाई कर नहीं रहे हो टॉकिंग लाइक ए प्रीचर मोर ऑफ लाइक कम समथिंग no just joking I know thank you so much for your apt reply Kevin today you are being interviewed by myself and Rakesh had you continued the company with you or you would have been still running maybe you would have been interviewed by the CNBC today and not by us.
That's a very good question.
And what is happening to that company right now? There are two questions together.
Right. So, first of all, the way I have written my book, when you read the book, it is very much possibility, there's very much a strong possibility that even if my competitor read it, they wouldn't know who I am. That's how I've written my book. So, this is a pure business book, first of all. That's what I should just say. Specifics are very few. Now, in that, what I want to tell you is that if I had been running the business myself, I did not want to continue because, first of all, I was never for sale. So I would have been continuing it. And I was going very happy. But then when I got the offer and I realized that my children may not be interested in the business that I am in. Also, there were very strong trends that global cooling is cool, global warming is not. And my book is actually, my story is about supplying equipment to hydrocarbon sector. And the era is anti-plastic. The era is anti-petrol cars. So I was in the global warming business in some way. I was supplying to these oil refineries, petrochemical plants, etc. And my children were not interested. They are born in a different era. They have much larger vision than perhaps I have. So then when I got the offer, I had a discussion with my mother. Then I had with Rupali. And then I decided to give it to someone who is worthy of it. And one message what I want to give you guys is that businesses are never sold, they are bought. Because I was never for sale actually. And the people who bought it, they call themselves the climate people. It's a Swedish multinational listed on NASDAQ, and they have brought in some new technology. They bought my book under Modi's Make in India program. So they came to India and then they made an offer, and the company is doing very well. They have not removed a single person. They said that we have acquired 34 businesses and we've never come across a company like this. In fact, we need to learn some things from you. I have had extensive discussions even with their HR in Sweden where the headquarters is, and they are learning some things, the tricks of the very Indian way. Thank you. Yeah.
So could you also answer whether that sale was premature, as he was asking? Was it before its time or you should have waited?
They have brought in, as I said, they are the climate people, so they are bringing in new technology, new things, and their new products. And they are using India, in fact, as a source for outside. So these products are not really is what they are pushing. They wanted to have a foothold in India. These products are complementary to their products, but the machineries are same and many other things, but the technology is changing.
Thank you.
So at one point in your business, Kevin, your business got crushed because a lot of people are leaving. I think even Suresh mentioned. People living in roughs, right? But you reinvented yourself. Credit to you. What is one thing that made the difference? Can you share at that point of time?
So it is important to understand that my business was getting crushed not because I did not have business. In fact, it was getting crushed because my business was really growing. And when businesses typically grow, a business can be profitable, but sometimes it runs out of money. Okay, because you have so much of orders and you need to buy raw materials and your payments are delayed. So more often than not, 90% of profit-making businesses, they run out of blood in the veins. You know, money is the blood in the veins. It's not the heart of the matter. And this is what happens. That was also not the case with me. The case with me was that I was losing employees. I was losing employees, and that's when I realized that, you know, I need to do something. So the belief that, you know, if you give them money, they will stay. So I started giving them pay revisions in the middle of the year, 1 revision, 2 revision, 3 revisions. It does not work. I realized that I was working on a model of scarcity because the only thing I could offer was money, and money as a motivational tool becomes blunt very quickly. I had to reinvent myself to find out what else can I give. And that's when the thought leadership started coming in. I became a student of leaders. And then I started, you know, teaching myself, learning, and I went through my own introspection. This whole book is about introspection, by the way. It urges one to introspect. I call to all my clients that, you know, I call upon them to be the introspective entrepreneur. Why should anyone work for you? Why should anyone buy from you? Why should anyone stick to you? This is the issue. So this is what happened when I fell.
That was very good. But any time, this time you triumphed, right? You could come out of that and you really build back the company. Any instance you remember when you did, despite your best efforts, you didn't succeed in that endeavor at that time? What learnings were there in that?
I think there are some people who have still not bought the book, so I'm giving away the whole book. No. So there was a time where in a particular department, our slogan, you know, we were a process company, and we used to call ourselves, you know, we mass transfer your products into solution. We mass transfer your problems into solution. When we say mass transfer was our product, and in that is sold only to process engineers. And more often than not, what used to happen is that I had to employ chemical engineers on this side, process engineers, and on the other side, the buyer is also process engineer. And they are trying to prove who is a better chemical engineer more than anything else, and that's where the battles would happen. So that became the most crucial department. And what happened was, in that department, there was a huge boom also happening in the Middle East. There was a globalization happening. This is pre-2008 financial crisis. The world was growing. 114 countries were growing at 5% and above. 75 countries were growing at 7% and above. Compare that to how the situation now. So there were very few people. And I started losing in that department. And I got to the point where I had only 2 girls left. 2 girls left. And of that, one was a little senior. Senior meaning she had about maybe 2 years experience from college. And the other one little less. And she was my last hope. And that's when I was speaking to this girl. And I made such a convincing speech over there that afterwards she went home, came back, and put in the resignation letter. That's how convincing it was. And that's when I realized that convincing doesn't work. You have to enroll people. And there's a distinction between the two. That you cannot go around convincing because you're exhausting yourself. People can see through. You have to enroll them. And that was the opening tool.
Thank you, Kevin. Today you are comparatively giving short replies, comparatively. Normally it's very difficult to check you in between, and thank you for that. But it can be still little shorter because there are a lot of questions coming up. There's the audience also. Sorry to interrupt you, but just to see that our audience also gets the chance to ask the questions to you. Kevin, it is being said that behind every successful person, there is a woman. How many were there in your case? And who were they? and what was their contribution in the growth of the company, only in the growth of the company. Thank you.
First of all, I must tell you that there was not a single woman that was behind in my success. There was one who was by my side each step of the way. And she's right here, Rupali. My mother, to whom this book is dedicated, has been a biggest inspiration. I am because she is what I have written in the book. So she held the fort after my dad passed away, and she has brought me up in a manner where she has made me the way I am in terms of certain the value system. I am extremely patriotic, and I think that there was an incident which is there in the book, which had made me later on realize that I am extremely patriotic, and that's the value around which I built the building, or the whole company, basically. So yes, it is my mother's inspiration, and my wife's nagging all the way, telling me how to do business, where I'm going wrong. No, she was giving me good guidance. We walked each step of the way. Thank you.
As I understand that Rupali is also a chartered accountant. Yeah, his father is. Okay, sorry.
अच्छा, आप कुछ भूल तो नहीं रहे? आपने कुछ लिखा था, there was a Pakistani girl in your campus. कुछ खुलासा करें.
You know, in my freshman year, I had gone to a college in a place called Waverly, Iowa. Okay, now Iowa is one of the states in USA, and those who are aware of how America is, most Americans do not know where Iowa is. You know, when I speak to some Indians and I say Iowa, they will say, I know, Ohio. And I said, not Ohio, it's Iowa. And in that, there was a very small village. Okay, and in that, there was this college where I was the first Indian there. I was the first Indian over there. And in fact, they had never seen a brown person in reality. And they actually asked me, one guy jokingly, that are you a white guy with a great tan, or are you a black guy with straight hair? Okay. And to give you an idea on how small it is, there was this one bar over there which was called the Joe's, where the students would go there on a Friday night or a Saturday night. They would have some drinks. Only one. And then after some time, one more came up, and it strategically called itself the other place. So where do you want to go? You want to go to Joe's, or you want to go to the other place? And that was its name. You know, so the only two. Now you can imagine a place like this, how lonely it is. You are only the brown guy, and in that, one semester later, a Pakistani girl shows up, and she was very beautiful. They were from a very wealthy family from Karachi, defense colony. Her father, Bashir Khan, was a very prominent commentator in cricket as a hobby at that time. And they even called me to their home once to, when the father was there, mother was there, they called me for dinner. And, I was from India. It was very cold there. So I was a little freezing. My jacket was not the world's best. And they were very wealthy. And I went inside, and the father was all suited, booted. That's the kind of Pakistanis. They were very, very cultured. And they had made special vegetarian food. They even themselves ate vegetarian food. And so, yes, it's very natural for someone who's out there. I'm saying it in front of my kids, my wife, for, to be lonely and come across a girl like this, who is somewhat like you. You have a language which is matching. And once even she started sulking, So I do not know, because why would anyone sulk? I tell you what happened. Pakistanis, their language is very rich. Okay, and she's from that family. And I was this Mitibai canteen guy, apun tapun, and they always up. And she got some B plus and A minus or something, and she expected an A, and she was really not happy about it. And I said, "Arey, kya isme itna marne ka hai? Chhod na yaar, kya farak padta hai tere ko?" I must have said something like that. And she started not talking to me. Now this is a trait of some, girlfriend, no, who doesn't talk to you.
देखिए
sulk.
आदमी तभी रूठता है जब मनाने वाला पास में हो.
But anyways, after 2-3 days, she came around. But I must, to answer your question, मैंने उससे कभी आंख झुका के बात नहीं किया, कभी आंख दिखा के नहीं किया, और आंख मिला के भी नहीं किया, क्योंकि दिल तो है हिंदुस्तानी. By the way, she ended up marrying Miftah Ismail, who was the finance minister under Shahid Abbasi, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, for a very brief period, and was an advisor even to the current Prime Minister, Shehbaz Sharif. And now he has started his own party called Pakistan Awam Party, basically. So that's the kind of family they are from, basically. Very, very royal. But nothing to worry, India.
I'm safe. We are all safe. Okay. So Kevin, you were lucky.
Rupali, I could hear her saying, "ये तो सबसे longest answer दे दिया."
So
It felt like that.
I was just saying, Rupali, that he was. हाँ. This was the. मैंने बोला ना.
Elaborate.
Yes.
She is not my Facebook friend. She is Rupali's Facebook friend.
That is smart, huh? So you are lucky, Kevin, to have Rupali, your life partner, your business partner, right? कदम से कदम मिलाया उन्होंने कंधा से कंधा मिलाया. But you know, it was hierarchy-less then when such relationships in a corporate. You had heard the saying that our structure is very clear. I am the CEO and she is the boss, right? So there would be many situations where the important decisions you will have a conflict. And they may be very important junctures in the business. So how did you navigate such instances? Give us some example. How do you navigate that process? Because it is tough sometimes.
Our company was, the staff was divided into ladke wale or ya ladki wale. Because there was because I was taking care of some part of the business and she was taking care of the other part of the business. And the company was divided into that. And in my office, I had a door, but it was a translucent door with a slit which was completely transparent. And there was this one table by the window for two. And whenever we used to have some conflict in the office, so that there is no overhang of us being spouse of each other, we would make sure that we are in full public view, and we would sit over there. The whole office, people who are passing by can see if they are, if they are passing by from there. And we would be discussing as much as possible in a professional way. Having said that, there has been lots of instances. It's difficult to work with your wife, I can tell you, and I'm sure it's be difficult to work with the husband, because there is, no matter what, the seepage is there from the personal life. And the biggest discussions we used to have is that even she still considers me to be very naive. बहुत मतलब भोला है. She tells me, मेरा चक्कर क्या था, that I would be dealing with the customers, and the customer has given us an order. And then there are customers who would say that this is the payment terms which we have agreed upon. And sometimes the customer says, it's held up, but I need to, really need the material. Please send it immediately. And because you are so close to the customer, you are selling the products, you've been trying to, build a relationship. I would say, okay, let's send the goods. But she has to clear it, basically. It is to land on her desk. And she says nothing doing, because she was in charge of finance. And she says that it's very clearly mentioned here that he has to complete the payment until that the goods cannot go. And then she would actually make me sign and say that, okay, if he doesn't pay, then I will pay her, basically. I will pay back to the company. So that's what it was. The other thing was, I used to joke with my receptionist, Sita ji, because once I was passing by and she said, ki, aap kisko milne aaye? So when she asked one of the persons who had come, and then after the person went, I told her, कि देखो, अगर I had a habit of meeting my vendors once in a month. I just like to meet them, and I used to ask them, how did you get into the business? क्या है? So they have some. I used to build a chemistry with them, and I knew that if I need it at 4 a.m. in the morning, they would stop everybody else's but supply to me. They would cut the line and give it to me. And what would happen is these vendors would come to me, and they are all those simple die makers and some supplier and all, and they would all be very simple people, sometimes in chapel and all that. And finance was in, and so she used to take care of the treasury, and we used to invest even at that time. You are at the end of the day we are guju madus. So we used to so whenever the money is lying idle in between, then we used to invest somewhere, and all these suited booted smart looking girls in skirts and all that would end up going to her. So the mentality was very much there, and everyone knew कि कौन किसको मिलने जा रहा है. So all these small guys would come to me, and all those good-looking people would go and meet her.
Maybe in the open session, Rupali, you could give the perspective from your point of view.
You are leaving, sir? Penalty 5,000 rupees for each. You can. Thank you for
Mohan.
making it. Thank you. Thank you.
She has been a contributor also. Rita ji, thank you so much
you.
for the Rakis and other things from bamboo you're buying. Thank you. She made it. She was not going to come. She's come specifically. So we let her go. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Friends, this question answer session will go for another 5 to 7 minutes only. Then we have an open house where kindly be prepared to shoot the questions to the Kevin Shah. That would be another half an hour, 20-minute session with us. So by 12:30, we intend to close the event, and we hope we maintain the time. Kevin, you followed a very unconventional way, which was very difficult for me even to digest. You mean jara hatke, like not giving sales targets, even not looking at the qualifications, taking staff and workmen for movies and the restaurants with you? Did you face problems, or did it help you in the progress of the company?
Okay. So yes, it was all very cutting edge at the time. And one of the sayings which I have is that to state the obvious, never state the obvious, because there is no thought leadership over there. And when you are running the business, when you speak to everyone and they say that, if you don't give money, then they will not stay. And if you take them for movies, it's a waste of time. Kha pi ke maza karenge, and they will go away and all those things. If you don't check on their qualifications, let me tell you one thing about the qualification, the kind of insights which I've given, which I got along the way, and I started implementing over there. I actually ran an engineering company, and it did pretty well because our products started getting specified in multinational tender specifications, and other companies had to say that they can make and match equivalent to our products. But I had a lot of people in running this engineering company who are not engineers. And what I looked for is their background and some of the other things. And I mentioned in that on how I took the interview. And the application of that can be found even today if the US president looks at that and takes clues from it in terms of how to, which migrant to allow inside and which one not to. Because you have to do a very strategic background check. And that's what I was doing. I've explained in that. And it also has an application for homemakers who are employing, say, maids and things like that. So, of course, I had resistance, because I was taking people for the movie, but this was not for entertainment. Very selectively, I would take people for movies. And then after coming back, we would have a discussion and we would try to figure out what can we learn from them, and I would get a lot of different perspective. That's how you bring in the contributions, things, thoughts. And I learned this actually as a student in America. When I was in Houston, I used to go for what is known as the Divine Brain Trust under the Swadhyay movement at in our campus, where a certain scripture would be read, and then the person would ask each student to explain what it meant for them. This was run by one Indian person over there, and Indian students from the campus would go. and this, and each one would give a different perspective. And I learned that, and I started doing that in my company. Either we show a movie, something else I want to tell you, which is unconventional. We have an engineering problem, and someone from accounts department happens to be there. Then I would ask that fellow, what can we do? What do you think? I would explain the context. I would explain my constraint. I would explain to them what we are trying to achieve, the objective. And then I say, what do you think? And sometimes they would say something which would be an eye-opener, because you are in the system, you become the system, and you cannot think. So when you do these kind of things, it's very, very unconventional. In the beginning, you get a lot of resistance from your own people. कि सर आप क्या कर रहे हो? You're wasting time. ये लोग नहीं समझ रहे, ये तो ऐसा ही होते हैं. आप चिल्लाते नहीं हो workers पे, वो ऐसा ही होते हैं. I ended up getting rid of the union over there. So it does make different, but you have to live through it. Basically, it requires some amount of a faith in what you are doing. Eventually, you prevail.
Thank you.
So, Kevin, you had a very eventful, interesting life. You built a big business in the end. Now, if you get a chance to redo your journey, what will you change and why?
Vedant, my son, what is the name of your business? Your company? What is the name? Can you explain what that is in one line? Amar Fati?
So it's a love of fate. You're not a fatalist, but you accept your fate.
Yeah. If I was to relive my life, I mean, I always have said that, not just for this, I've always believed it, that you have to love your fate and see how you can change your destiny. Things happen to you for a reason. This is what I believe in. And there are things which did not go your way. There is no such thing as failure. There is only feedback for feed forward. I love the quote which has been assigned to Edison. Whether he said it or not, I do not know. But he said that I know of 999 ways of how not to make light. He kept going. So, and difficulties, as we say, the difficulties don't crush the men, they make them. And that is very much true. So I've had lots of things which has not gone my way. The book has been dedicated to my father. That's the only thing which I would ask to change, because he's still living through the book continuously. I've referred to him continuously. I've always been a curious guy, because he used to tell me the story and he used to say that extract the moral from it. Tell me the moral of the story. Wrong answer is okay, but no answer is not okay. Show that you have a mind. Think it through. And this is actually what drives me. My sense of curiosity, my sense of inquisitiveness is very much there. I've always told people that I do not know how I am an engineer, but I used to tell that I am extremely interested in observing people. My dad used to do that with me. He should say, okay, we would go in and say, "Ye chain kyun lakha hua hai? Tujhe pata hai?" And then I would have to give an answer. And you go in the train. He would say, ye aadmi hai, where do you think he's from? Which state is he from? What do you think he's doing? Is he doing job or business? Just look at him, observe him. What message are you getting? So that's one thing I would say what I would change, is that I wish he was with me. I would have been really be able to get much, much more blessings than I did from him.
Thank you.
And this is going to be the last question. I'm sure this is not your last book. Do you plan to write some more books? If yes, on what topic? And I'll combine a question here itself. Finally, what message would you like to give to the youth to achieve higher targets in whatever profession they are doing? Little brief, because your time is little shorter, please.
Book. This is an accidental book, if I may say that. I was never planning to write a book. I would have been happy writing my political blogs and things like that. But I was known to write memos also in my office. And I believe that if I am sending the memo with the managing director's sign on it, then I would spend a good amount of time even on the caption. And when especially those mass messages to each and every employee. And I wish somebody would have collected them, because they themselves are a book by them. They would have been a good book. I would think a lot for the caption, and as soon as the employees would get that, they know who has sent it, because nobody would put a caption like this except this guy who we have over here, And it was a very thought-provoking caption. And then inside I would write whatever. And often I would write about, and at that time also, Suresh, I would confuse them. I would write about all this, but somehow or the other I bring it back and connect it to the business and how it applies to us. Weaving? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so you have to weave. You see, the tooth is connected to the toe, the lung is connected to the tree, the sight is connected to the sky, the dead men to the living souls, and the living souls to the unborn, right? It's a fact of life. So you have to have that capacity to, we do analysis. Analysis is when the event has happened. Opposite of that is synthesis. When you do this, you are able to guess what could happen. It kind of sharpens you. So coming back to your question, yes, of course, uh, it was an accidental book. People started asking me questions. I found there's value in it. I was writing notes for my kids because I never learned my father's story. And when I tell to all of you, when you tell stories about yourself to the children, right, they are not interested. They'll say it's your times and things like that. So I say, okay, I can't communicate. Then let me write it. And I would have perhaps been the same way, because so I was making those notes, and then finally it became a book. Whether a second book comes or not, let us see. I do not know. Maybe I would join hands with Rakeshji, because he's also in the, we've exchanged so many good thoughts. We could jointly write sometimes. I do not know. And your second question, sir?
Question was, what message would you like to give to the youth to go higher up?
To go higher up, friends, I will always say that the youth needs to learn to organize things. Today we have organized a program. Okay? We had to come up, I mean, he came up with this Aapki Adalat style. It's so difficult. When you try to organize something, even which is good for the people. For example, if you say that I'm trying to organize something, by end of it, there'll be gold. Each one of you will get gold. It's very difficult. You'll find resistance over there. And and in life, you don't need technology. You don't need money. You just need the emotional stamina to go through. And the organizing, it's a moving parts over there. How do you assemble them into one room? And Gopalji, on that note, I would also say, since it's the last one, our book readers, we usually have about 10 to 12 people. And this new format that you have so innovatively thought of, and Madam Saiba and Sir, that we have got such a huge audience, So it's very difficult to get people otherwise. Very, very difficult, especially on a Sunday.
You are right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Thank you once again. Thank you so much. We have open house for another 15 minutes or so. You are free to ask any question, preferably related to the book, or otherwise whatever you want to ask to the Kevin. It's open house for us. You are leaving, sir? Thank you. The mic is here. Anyone to begin with that, please? Yes, please. Chopra sir, please.
I hope everybody knows my name. I'm TK Chopra. And Kevin, I must say, a very good job done. Today's session, and of course I have read your book, and I gave my little bit of feedback earlier also. Extremely well written book, straight from the heart. And the flow with which you have written the whole book is that one will tend to finish it one shot. I couldn't do it. I took about a month's time to complete that. But after going through, I think it's a journey of a young entrepreneur, but it's a journey of most of us sitting here. That if all of us plan to write a book, we'll also have something similar. We can connect with each and every event. When I was reading the book, I could see what kind of emotions he's passing through. When I sent my son to US, what all happened thereafter, a number of things, But I must say you had the courage and the guts to write that book, and the conviction with which you have written the book. Fantastic. I just feel one question, a lot of good questions have been asked already by people sitting here, but you said that you faced a lot of attrition in the company. Right? When a lot of people left, you left with only a few girls or whatever. And you said you offered them money, you gave them increments, you gave them incentives, whatever all you did. And you used the word that money is not good enough. What is required is that you have to enroll them. You use that word. I'm not very clear, because what is enrolling? Was it something which was awfully missing in your company earlier? That there was no culture of ability to kind of retain people, retain employees? What do you exactly mean with that?
Thank you. Why should anyone work with you? When you start asking that question, ultimately it will lead you to a point where cognitively the person is asking, am I working in a company where we are making decent products, Is it a decent company? Do I have a good leader? And do I have a future? And the only way a person will stay with you is, am I experiencing some control in the company? I may be the last employee over there, but am I just a leg of a centipede, leg number 37? Whether I move or not, company will keep on moving. Do I have any control over there? That's you have to give them the perception that they are. So you need to have a perceived control, perceived progress. And progress is not just money. It is dignity, respect, learning and earning. Because everyone is earning. In theory, somebody will give 1 rupee extra and they can get more over there. So this is the second thing. Perceived connectivity. That means that when they go and come back, people should ask, hey, you were missed, what was happening, kahan gaye the, gaon gaye the, kaise hai sab ghar pe? That kind of a cult you have to have. And then finally comes that you need to be doing something larger than what we are all putting together. So this is very, very important. It is connecting, perceived control, perceived progress, perceived connectivity and perceived service to something larger. Now this is what I was doing. Earlier I was like anybody else, giving them money and that's about it.
Was it like people didn't see any leadership beyond Kevin? That you don't build up enough leadership within the company, people could connect with, So it was very hard to entertain for the employees to look at the entrepreneur as a leader. That's one aspect. But whether within the company, did you put in effort to build up leadership across the functions?
It takes a village to bring up a child. And this is exactly was also missing, because now when you think from a mindset of scarcity, that you believe that I, me and myself and I have all the repository over here. Eventually, I ended up making not just very powerful managers who are giving presentations worldwide, who could address a big audience. Basically, they were not just managers of domain expert in their department. We had a special, what I would call is a super designate, which was called organizational group leaders. I mentioned about that in my book, which means OGLs, and they are the trustees of the company. So, which means that if someone's manager is not there, but then one of these guys, if they observe something, then they can guide the person. So they are like the uncles and aunties. I remember when I wanted to smoke my first cigarette, I felt like, oh, uncle dekh rahe, oh, auntie dekh. They're all strangers to me. Correct? All of us have gone through. What keeps us in gather? It takes a whole community to keep a child in track. The influences are there. The same is required in a company. We had to develop the managers. We had 10 OGLs, very, very powerful OGLs, and they stayed with me till the end. So in the beginning, we speak of attrition. Towards the end, these people were there for me with more than about 15, 16, 17 years non-stop. And because of that, the people under them also never left. We were a company which one of the most important things which helped in selling my business, we have never come across a company. That means you are doing something right. And the something right was that they have a future here. They believe in the products, company and the leadership, and therefore you bring out the best in them. It's a value vision is what you have to offer.
Thank you, Kevin. I want people to be little brief. I'll ask you the question. Straight to the point. Yeah, please, go ahead. Mike. Yeah, you can have the mic, please, also. And answers can be also brief, so more number of people can participate.
Kevin, my name is Pradeep Surana. You were absolutely fantastic. Articulate.
Sir, no
sublime
compliments,
eloquence.
directly question, please.
Just a minute, sir. I just want to know how much of problems you had facing the publisher.
My publisher is a book publisher.
Yeah, book publisher.
Okay, very good question, in fact. And anyone who's planning to write a book, please answer the questions at the end of each chapter and your book will be ready. That's what I've said. How to benefit from the book is you end up writing your own book. I was told that I was asking, why am I writing a book? I was not writing to do this. I never had this in mind. I was not there for money. I was not there for fame. I was not there to make it a bestseller. So they said, go to someone who is truly interested. They may not be a very big name. Because if you go to a big name, they are going to keep you in the waiting for about 6 months to 1 year, and maybe they may not even respond. You'll have to chase them. You can keep on sending emails, they will not respond. And so people talk about the content, right? People buy the book by its cover, but eventually what makes it sell is not the cover. It's the content. And that is what I focused on, to somebody who's interested. And actually they handheld me. And therefore, I felt the need to acknowledge them in my book. I have written about that. It's very important. So please don't go with all these branded names and all that. If you are nobody, they are not interested in you. Let me tell you, this also I asked other people. Some of these big names, they don't help you to sell. They just say that we have a contact in, let's say, Granth or wherever. You eventually have to give them a lot of money. You organize a program. They'll call all these people. You feel it is like you will feel a lot of things are happening. Work is equal to force into distance. A lot of force will be put. Distance will not be moved. You have to keep on paying. You'll have to pay lakhs of rupees. They'll call some journalists. They'll do all those things. It doesn't sell that way. And I was not pursuing that. I was not pursuing this thing about somehow the other become famous, get on the radio. None of that. By word of mouth, people have now called me so many times, and it is happening.
I'm pretty sure now the sales will go up tremendously up after this session. No doubt about it. Anyone else, please? Quick. Yeah, you want to? No, please. Yeah, go ahead. Mike, please. Mike, please. Give your name also, please.
Hi, my name is Saroj Mahadev. Congratulations, Kevin. Kevin, have you sent the book to Prime Minister Narendra Modi?
Good one, good one, good one. Good one.
Gopal ji said कि इधर उधर का सवाल मत पूछो और आप बोल रहे good question. No, I do not consider myself as worthy of sending him the book. I mean, I can always send it to him, but to be honest with you, I think that I do not know what I would achieve by that. Okay, I have a book which he has signed, and that is what I have for keeps. But to send just, I mean, I'm sure it'll go into PMO's office. He must be getting so many things. He gets so many letters. But really, I have tried to be away from that.
Thank you. Anyone else for the question, please? Quick. No one? Yes, yes. Have a mic, please. Mike. माइक प्लीज माइक जस्ट नहीं माइक आप थोड़ा पास में ले लीजिए हाँ
to potential entrepreneurs by being a podcaster about creating what are the experiences and then working on it.
This is a question which I keep getting asked even at home. I have not really pursued that. I call myself as a peer thought strategist. I am not. I mean, because I call myself as not an institute certified coach. I don't go. I have not got any certification. I've learned from the University of Hard Knocks. I've gone through life, and I talk to business people because मुझे मालूम है कि उनके वहाँ क्या-क्या मजबूरी है. So I speak one-on-one to business folks, and I try to guide them. And one of the things which I am finding now as the hottest market is that almost every one of all the people in business have sent their kids overseas, to USA, to UK, to Australia, to Singapore. And when they come back, there are huge problems between the earlier generation and this generation. And now I've sort of gravitated in that direction to tell the father to be patient and tell the son to be patient and somehow try to bridge the gap between the two. Because the people come from a foreign country, the plane has landed, but they have not landed, the kids. And they have worked over there for a couple of years and they try to put this over here, their thoughts. And I said, no, you need to contextualize basically. First learn your country, you've forgotten in 4 years, it's a shame. I'm very glad you've come back, but now please focus. And I have to tell the father also that, you forgot on your days. So please work on that. So this is what it is.
Anyone else, please?
Rupali, would you like to say something?
Rupali, mic to her, please.
Rupali, you asked me so many questions at home, you have your chance here.
No questions. But maybe just adding to what you asked Kevin earlier on how it was working together. In B school, I specialized in finance, and we were taught that as a CFO, your job is to mitigate external risks wherever you can mitigate that for the company. And living with Kevin, I eventually realized that he was the unmanageable risk. Everything else, I was
agree.
able to.
I was to ask that question, but I did not.
I was able to manage very well. And like he mentioned earlier, we had a payment term, and I said, we cannot let the goods go off. And at that time, I graduated. We got married at 23, and at 24-year-old, undeservingly, I was already the mini CFO, and I said, you cannot send the goods. And at that time, Kevin would say, but what about the national loss? We have a refinery or a fertilizer plant. They have been closed, just for our goods, and I cannot do this. You just have to send it. And to me, of course, it was very naive, and it only took me a couple of decades to know that he's always been a nationalist, and I had to grow up to really understand those feelings. So, yeah, those are my 2 bits.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We have another 2-3 minutes for the last question. Please, anyone? Rocky? Rakesh Kapoor? You can't sit behind and just relax and all those things. Yeah, please go ahead. Thank you. Just give your name and just.
Hi, Vedant. Who gave you the most trouble with the book at home in terms of feedback, editing, and too many compliments today? So
No, I think this comes right back to him. I did not acknowledge Vedant, but his English is very good, and also Siddhant's. Their English, if you sometimes people say your English is very good, but my English, I'm the last in the house. Siddhant is very good. His is very good. Rupali's is, I don't know if you guys are following her on Facebook and all. She writes so beautifully. In fact, you should ask, when is she writing her book, actually?
Great.
Yeah. But they did go after me, all of them, because after it was ready, and both of my kids, of course, were quite cynical. They, why would you want to publish a book? Who will read it, Dad? They were, because they're afraid. They love their dad, so they're trying to protect their dad. Dad, you can't write that. You can't tell all these problems to the world. It's okay. They don't understand that, right? Because they think that how can you speak about that you are such a small company, you didn't have anything. I said, but that is where it is a fact. I mean, authenticity mein hi to power hai. Baki to kya hai? So yes, they did give, both of them actually gave a lot of feedback to me. And to be honest with you, I kind of saying it's okay. Thank you for your feedback, but I'm going ahead on my own. They did give me a lot of hard time. And they were not really allowing me to write something, but I said I'm going to write it.
Thank you. Let me make it clear. None of the questions were given to Kevin in advance. It was not we did a trial earlier and then we came here. So that impromptu reply was great from your side. My salutation to you. We are all proud and lucky to be associated, to have a friend like Kevin. And I tell you, friends, if you meet him in one-to-one, offer a beer or even coffee, and you listen to him, there are a lot of things to be learnt about it. Just to be with him also gives immense pleasure. Thank you so much. Last question, since the time was there with me, and I have 4 lines which I can't stop now talking about it. So I'll say the 4 lines first and then the question. हर रात में चांद निकले ये जरूरी तो नहीं है. हर रात में चांद निकले ये जरूरी तो नहीं है. हर बाजी हम ही जीते ये जरूरी तो नहीं है. दूसरों के तजुर्बे भी काम आ सकते हैं. दूसरों के तजुर्बे भी काम आ सकते हैं. ठोकर खाकर ही संभले ये जरूरी तो नहीं है. So Kevin, in your book you have written that you have taken the advice, tips from so many people, whomsoever you met, wherever you met, whether you rightly use or not use, I did not know. But what were those specific tips which made you to go to that height?
What you said is very true. I've been asked this question that people say you learn from your mistakes, right? But actually, you learn from your successes, but you take it for granted, because your success tells you your pattern, like what made you win and things like that, and you recall it fondly. And that's why I could write my book. People say, how did you write your book? I used to recite some of these things we used to have every day. And when I would say, I would involve the people. I'd say, हमको ये इतना बड़ा प्रॉब्लम आया था बट फिर हमने ये किया और वी कुड ओवरकम दिस एंड so and so helped us. So that person also gets involved, and the new people who join start feeling that, you know, we are joined a company which has gone through such a hardship, and therefore it's our responsibility to continue that further. So there's a sense of legacy is built in through the storytelling. And but you learn from other people's mistake. So I always say to people, as an introspective entrepreneur, if somebody is not giving you good service, there is a problem, and you say he has so many resources and he still is doing that, is there in your company? Don't waste your time in gossip and complaining about them. Learn from other people's mistake. Otherwise, you will make it. And it's a very expensive way to learn. Yes, one of the advice which I got was, that I used to wake up in the night and go to my factory at 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and I used to wake up my workers because they used to sleep in the afternoon. And then someone told me that, Kevin, कि रात को तो तुझे सोना चाहिए, okay? वो लोग तो आराम से सो रहे हैं और तुम जाग रहे हो. It should not be like that. You have a night shift, then why are they not doing it? That means that when you are present, your presence is not felt, your absence. So your presence should be felt when you are absent. And that is the whole thing about culture, your soft power. So this is one of the very early advice I got, and that's what helped me. Today, why are we intact, basically, some of us? Why have we not gone wayward? It is because we have the soft power, right, of the society, of our family, our expectations of our mother, father. It's very important. The same thing, a parent to a child, the managing director of a company in some level has to treat that to the children. And you need to give them that vision. It has to have a value, vision, narrative. Then they all stay in order. And only that's what they respect. They don't respect the profit and all those things. That's okay. Everyone has it. Ultimately, this is what comes through. You have to.
So, final question, Kevin. What is the biggest challenge in writing this book?
Oh, that's I think besides making sure that my has and was don't end with a Z and is written with a proper spelling and a lighter vein, I think if I had really started writing, I would have written a book which would have been about 2,000 pages. Because there are so many stories I have, so many incidences I have. And I really didn't know what to drop. So the way I wrote my book is that I just wrote down everything that was there, some key words all through the journey. कि मेरा ये पहले 3 साल में क्या हुआ, next 3 साल में क्या हुआ, ऐसे करके. Anything and everything I kept on, and then I started writing. And even today, sometimes I feel, अरे वो लिखना था मुझे, वो छूट गया, अरे वो तो हुआ ही नहीं, ये तो हुआ ही नहीं, ये तो लिख ही देना था मुझे यार, करके. बहुत सारी ऐसी चीज़ थे जो नहीं लिखी है, some incidents. So to me, it was the problems of the plenty. Besides knowing that I am not a writer, so people say that when you write, like you think of somebody to write for, and it was my kids I wrote for. So that's what it is. I was not writing it to publish it or anything. I would have never even published it. आपने पूछा publisher कैसे select होता है, मैं publish भी नहीं करता. But public ने जब आपने मुझे feedback दिया था, अच्छा है वगैरह, तो I said कि चलो अभी publish करते हैं, and there is value to it. Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin, once again. We are 5 minutes behind schedule. Thank you so much for being a lovely audience and maintaining the time. We will listen to the judgment, and then Preeti the Great would give the vote of thanks.
Thank you. So I've been jotting down some
Just
points.
a minute. Sorry, I'm sorry, Judge Sahiba. There is a small notebook on your table for all of us. If you want to write any personal message for our dear Kevin, whatever you think, like few lines for him, you are most welcome to write it, and put your name also there, please. Thank you. Sorry.
So today's proceedings have come to an end. This Aadalat is appreciative of every person present here to have maintained the decorum of the court and swiftly but strongly presenting their points. This has enabled the court to pronounce the judgment in one single day, which is a record of sorts. So, Kevin's book talks a lot about his mom and Rupali's dad. in his formative years. We are fortunate to have Drupali's dad here with us. Mom had convinced little Kevin by comparing impoverished India, which was the situation at that time, to an injured mother whom you would love no less. Seeds of patriotism were sown in this emotional talk. And we also got emotional reading it. East or West, Mother India is the best. Rupali's dad emphasized on the age-old adage, but perennially relevant. Honesty is the best policy, which includes integrity in paying of taxes to the government. ये अदालत आपकी और आपके मॉम की, इन दोनों के योगदान की और जो संस्कार आपने दिए उसकी सराहना करती है. Kevin faced a volley of questions. कई तीर तर्कश से निकाले गए. इन्होंने एक नहीं, दो रजत शर्मा को फेस किया, but with positivity and bring them on attitude. This Adalat applauds Mr. Gopal and Mr. Rakesh for conceiving this idea. And special thanks to Mr. Rakesh, what you had mentioned, for all your inputs. कभी किसी चैप्टर में अगर थोड़ा नमक कम था तो वो बता दिया. It may be small contribution, but the effect is a lot. And that's the same effect he has in many people's lives. He is that namak, जिसके बिना जिंदगी बेस्वाद है. Thank you, Mr. Gopal, for your char-liners. They really kept us going. Adalat also thanks the audience and their participation and interaction for asking pertinent, interesting, pointed, and no holds barred questions. अब मिस्टर केविन ने ये जवाब कैसे दिए उस पर आते हैं. Now in math, there is a definition of a tangent which touches the circle at just one point. कुछ आंसर्स में मिस्टर केविन एक tangent की तरह उस point, pun intended here, उस question के point को बस टच करते हुए किसी और ही डायरेक्शन में तीर की तरह निकल गए. But in overall context of things, we can ignore this, as most of the answers उन्होंने बड़ी बखूबी से, बहुत convincingly और बड़ी सच्चाई के साथ दिए. केविन पर कई पत्थर फेंके गए, but looks like उन्होंने इन्हीं पत्थरों से एक मकान बना लिया और एक नया मुकाम बना लिया. जजमेंट के पहले ये अदालत केविन को एक सजा सुनाती है कि this book should not be your first and last. This has to mark the beginning, and he should continue to write books which become a guiding light and source of strength for the young entrepreneurs. Inspire readers to dream big, to make goals with conviction, and more importantly, shine against all adversities. A few famous quotes here by Einstein, Oprah, and J.K. Rowling. Everyone has a hero within himself or herself, but it takes adversity to bring it out. Adversity introduces a man to himself, as at times you are yourself not aware of your own mettle. If you have hit the rock bottom, make that as the solid foundation. Kevin, you turned your wounds into wisdom, as you mentioned in your book also. He did exactly that and converted them into pearls of wisdom through his book. आपने अपने आप को इस कठहरे से अनशैकल कर दिया है. ये अदालत सारे मुद्दों को नजर रखते हुए केविन को निर्दोष पाती है और उन्हें बाइज्जत बरी करती है.
I will just say one thing, that I know her since many years, and I know her as Vinita Miss. Sometimes I call her Vinita Ji, Vinita Madam, और अब हो गई जज साहिबा विनीता. और उसको मुझे मालूम है, लेकिन उसका फेवरेट ही है, कभी ऐसे हम मिल लेते बार वगैरह में कभी, तो शी प्रिफर्स दैट आई कॉल हर विनीता. So she goes in, I have many relations with her depending on the avatar that she takes. And but it was this new avatar of Judge Sahiba. I think I'm going to keep reminding you on that. So thank you,
New
really
to me
enjoyed
also.
you. She's played a wonderful role. Just see the judgment, the way she gave, right? In our book readers club also, when she reads out her paragraph, she puts in the full emotions, and I can only imagine the kind of teacher she must be, because her students must be really, she must be really enlightening them. And I would like to recognize her for that. Thank you very much, Vinita Miss.
Thank you, Vinita. You have done a wonderful job. This is the first time a culprit is also giving the judgment for the judge. You say so, something interesting. Thank you so much. And friends, I invite Preeti to propose vote of thanks. That would be the last thing. But for all of you, the last 4 lines. रब से आपकी खुशी मांगते हैं, रब से आपकी खुशी मांगते हैं, दुआओं में आपकी हंसी मांगते हैं, सोचते हैं क्या मांगे आपसे, सोचते हैं क्या मांगे आपसे, चलो आपकी उम्र भर की दोस्ती मांगते हैं, चलो आपकी उम्र भर की दोस्ती. थैंक यू सो मच. प्रीति.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. When I was asked impromptu to give this vote of thanks, I thought, okay, and then as the session progressed, I started taking notes and I started writing and writing. And quite honestly, given what I've learned about Kevin today, not that I didn't know him earlier, I think that that would be another session if I sat down and expressed everything that I wanted to say thanks for. So I'm going to start quite simply and say thank you everybody for coming out this afternoon on a Sunday. I know it's away from family time, so appreciate that. No shairi, no event like this would be complete without Gopalji Shairi, his input and all the admins from our book club. So thank you very much to all of them. Thanks to Kevin's family for letting us draw you into this, and of course, sharing your inputs, and special mention and thanks to Rupali. Before I get into it, and I know I'm grateful to Gopalji because this is one time he hasn't given me a time limit. Normally, as soon as he brings me on stage, he does 3 minutes, ha Preeti, 2 minutes, ha Preeti. So I'm glad I don't have that today. You're learning. Good. So I'll start with Beenal. Great introduction. We always knew that Kevin is generous work-wise because over the years we've heard a lot of experiences or incidents that he's narrated about his work. But to know that his generosity extends so far and he's so conscious of giving in every moment of his life was a learning, and that's good to know, and kudos to you, Kevin, for that. Keep up the good work. Suresh is not here, but I did want to say that his love for the book was evident, and I'm sure for people in this forum who haven't read his book, his synopsis now created the desire to read it. Kevin, okay, so I have so many things written down, and my notes are a mess, so I'm sorry. I think my takeaway was your soft power is immense. So that's great. I learned a lot of good things. You've taken good belief, you've converted it into good behavior. That is something that I'm sure all of us will now, at least for some time, be more conscious of doing that. For me, your key takeaway words were introspection, don't convince, enroll. Your answers enrolled us to a lot of things, including, I'm hoping, a lot of us buying your book. Love your fate, emotional stamina, perceived connectivity, control, progress, and contribution to something larger than yourself. It's when I was listening to you and I read the book and you go through it and you realize these things, but when you hear the author, you yourself answer the questions, you realize how true you are to all of those things. So that was absolutely fabulous. Very astute questioning by both Gopalji and Rakesh, and I realized that you all were taking the roles of lawyers seriously because you kept adding questions and adding questions. So you got a lot more than the, I think, requisite 5. Vinita, first of all, excellent judgment. I really appreciate that you acknowledged both Kevin's mom and his father-in-law. As a judge, that was a very nice thing to do. A judge being a math teacher obviously brought everything back to math. She couldn't resist. And you related the judgment well to that, so well done. Appropriate punishment, Kevin, that's what I want to end on. So you do have to write another book now. And thank you all for being here. It's Gopalji's birthday today, so we are going to cut cake. So please wait as we celebrate the man behind the book club. Thank you again.
Thank you, Priti, as always. At the last moment, you do a good job. Normally, I have seen that if it's asked the last moment, you do a better job than giving in advance notices. Thank you so much. Friends, may I request the family members of Kevin to be here? We have a gift for him today. Please, all of you, Rakesh also, please. Preeti, you can also join, please. And Anil, our daddy of the club, can join us, please. Please. Yeah, all of you, please, all of you. दरक साहब आप आ जाएंगे थोड़ा सा ऊपर? We are taking only 2 minutes, please. Please be there. Hello. Friends, the books are available gratis. Thanks to Roki. You can collect 1 copy, all of you, please, before going. Thank you. And you are expected to read that book also, and just don't take it away. Find the time to read it whenever is possible. Thank you.
Happy birthday song.